What's up, guys? We are back with another Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z event exclusive review, taking a look at the Android in this year's batch of exclusives. We've got Android 16 that will go alongside the previous event exclusive 17 and 18 that we got, 2 years ago at this point. Now, 16 has been out of production for a while now, and he has been relatively expensive on the aftermarket. So this is a new way for folks to try to get him if he's a hole in your collection. Of course, he has made his debut at San Diego Comic-Con specifically thus far. Being an event exclusive, he does come in that event style packaging. So you've got the figure there in the window, but you've got the black and then the solid color scheme that's themed to him. So it's black and bright green, which I do really like. You know, I love this style of packaging. I think it really pops. And then the back of the box gives us product shots showing how he moves and a bunch of the stuff this guy comes with. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our event exclusive Android 16. So this is again a way for folks to get this figure if maybe you didn't get the original one, which came out, you know, again, years and years ago. I don't even remember. It's been a very, very long time since this guy has actually been out. And this is a changed figure. It's not exactly the same. I can definitely say there are some things that are improved from that first release. And then there's one big thing that's just different. And that, of course, is the green. The green on the first release is like a really bright, vibrant, shiny color. This is a very matte finish, more in line with, like, you know, an animation style. So similar to kind of how the event-exclusive androids from 2 years ago were more cartoon accurate in some ways than what we previously got. Now, it is still the exact same figure, though, which means it is based on somewhat older construction, but I think this guy still holds up pretty well. So now let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. We've got a head that can look up really good. He looks down all the way. Tilt side to side, full rotation. Arms out at the shoulders. You do have a butterfly joint, so it allows you to move all the way around in that socket. You can swivel. We've got our bicep swivel up there. You've got essentially deep single jointed elbows, so more than 90 degrees. And we've got our standard ball hinges with rotation at the wrist. The shoulder pads are articulated, so if you need to kind of get them up out of the way, you have a little bit of movement. It's not tons, but it does help you just to sort of hide the joint a little bit. We've got our torso articulation, so he goes backwards. He goes forwards slightly, then you've got tilt side to side. It also affords some, but not full rotation. And then you've also got a waist twist down here, which affords some back, forward, tilt side to side. He can't do like a full crunch, but he's still very posable because of how far both of those different joints can go. Legs have drop-down hips, and then they go out about that far. They're pretty limited in terms of what they can or can't do. So about that far, and then you drop them down, they can go out a little bit further. They do kick forward all the way. They'll kick backwards probably more than you need. You've got a thigh twist up there. Double jointed knees, but they only go about that far. It's kind of a weird double joint, like it's definitely two, but his legs are so big that they don't go back all the way. It's kind of weird. And then there is no boot cut on him, despite the fact that there could have been. And then down at the ankles, he's pretty limited here. So you've got some shimmy in terms of what would be a rocker. It's mostly a rotation point, and then you've got toe articulation. Not very much in the way of hinges because he's got these sort of like bunched up wrinkles and boot cuff things going on down here. If there's one area where I wish he was a little bit more robust, it's probably going to be those ankles. However, for the era in which this guy came out, I still think he holds up pretty well. And honestly, for what I generally use him for, he poses very, very well and easily. Now, as far as aesthetics goes, I think for the most part, this figure, you know, just like he kind of holds up in terms of articulation, I still think this one holds up really well just in the looks department. It is still definitely an older figure, and it feels and kind of looks that way. But at the time, you know, this is the old one. This was one of the bigger Figuarts we had gotten at that time. We didn't have a lot of the really, really huge ones. We had some, but we have a lot of big Figuarts now, and he kind of filled a spot where he was a little bit larger than average, but he wasn't the biggest thing ever. And I think it's a nice sized figure, and he's also got a very, very unique look among the line. I mean, even among the other androids, he's he's still very different. So you've got this super, super weird green suit that's like sort of a Saiyan armor kind of thing, but then you've got these big shoulder pads. So I think he looks fantastic. I'm really happy with the original figure. I do have a thing that happens with mine, though, where he gets kind of this weird like dust on him. It's something to do with the type of plastic used on this figure. There's other Figuarts that do the same thing, so you might kind of notice that it's kind of hard to get off sometimes. But this is our new one. And, I figured the best way to talk about these is just to sort of compare them, because they are very similar, but they are very discernible from one another. So the sculpt is still the same. It's all the same parts. It's all that same figure that I still really love, but it's a different deco. So you've got a very subdued color scheme. Like he has like a, like a lime green with like a candy coating thing going on, which isn't necessarily accurate to the anime. This is more in line with anime colors. So it's a little deeper, but it's also not shiny. This is maybe, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, real worldy, where the armor is actually an armor plating and it's shiny and it has some reflectivity to it, where this is just, more like cel-shaded kind of colors. What I really like overall, though, is just the fact that they are noticeably different while still being noticeably the same. So you've got two different options. If you happen to have both or need both, you've got two different options. And then, of course, there is, no accounting for the fact that it is a larger scale figure. He does have a very unique look, and it's a very striking color scheme. It's mostly just black and green. But then you've got this head poking through with newly improved faces for this release. So the paint is a little cleaner. It's more detailed in many ways. The face printing is more detailed than the original releases. The lips are a little bit more filled out, and there's more going on around the eyes. So I think the faces have been improved on this one, and the hair has been changed as well. So the hair is shaded this time. So it's got darker spots and then lighter spots, instead of it being just the same bright shade of orange through and through like on the original. So, if you've got the original one, I'm not saying you don't need the new one, but I'm also saying that you might want him still, because it is still the same figure, which I again think holds up quite well. But it does have some changes that if you wanted to put this one with a specific set of androids, 17 and 18, you can do that. Or if you needed this one, you've got a really nice figure built upon a solid base that does have some noticeable changes, some of which, the faces and the hair are just decidedly notable improvements. And then as far as some size comparisons go, we have to start with the other androids, of course. So here we've got our 17 and 18 on his side. And you can see, they are definitely among the smaller of the Z Figuarts, not counting, the smaller Gohan figures that we've got. But they're thin and really wispy kind of figures. They're very much their own kind of thing. But they size up really well with 16, because, of course, he was pretty large in comparison to them. So I'm really happy with this size comparison here. And then let's move one of them aside, and we can do, a standard. So here's a Goku. So here's the event exclusive Goku to go along with him. And you can see that Goku is, a good head shorter, but of course the hair makes him look sort of comparable, maybe a head and a half shorter. And then let's move him aside, and we'll do just something entirely different. So here is a 7-inch scale figure, Super 7 Ultimate. So you can see that while Linkso is a little bit beefier in terms of his overall construction, they're relatively the same across the board in terms of height. And then let's throw a Marvel Legends in front here. Here's Wolverine. So, of course, Wolverine's a little bit on the smaller side, but you can see how well he's going to stack up. And then, why not? Let's do something even entirely more different. So here is a vintage collection figure for a 3 3/4 scale style figure. So you can get an idea here of how big he is. He's not super bulky, but he's going to be taller than average when it comes to Figuarts, and he'll work pretty well in a 112-ish kind of capacity. Now, when it comes to accessories, we all kind of know that these event exclusives really are just repaints. Generally speaking, the majority of them anyway, Goku in this instance is not just a repaint, but this is just a repaint of Android 16. So there's no changes really, and he just sort of has the standard assortment kind of stuff, which is to say he doesn't really come with a lot. So to start with, he gets some extra hands. So he comes with fists on him in the box, and then we get these sort of style pose gripping hands. But he does have another way to display his hands. This is a very unique thing to him. So his arms do pop off because he's got the cannon things in here. So you can pop both of his arms off, and you've got the arm cannon. So this is sculpted. You got a little paint in there. There's even sculpt on the inside of the hands. So he does have that as a third hand option. So it's a hand, but it's not a hand, I suppose, right? And then we get some extra heads. So to start with, we get the sort of stoic face on him in the box. we get a smirking head, which has always been my favorite. Like, I've always displayed the original one with this one. And you can see there's no hair on these because the hair is removable, so you just pop it off and put it on. Goes in there. And then we get this screaming head, which looks great. Detail on it is very much improved from the original, and then the face, as far as the mouth and all the teeth and the tongue, looks really good as far as that paint goes. And then the last thing that we get, you know, like I said, it's not a ton of stuff with this guy. We get his sort of battle damage head, so he's got the closed eye, the sort of forlorn look expression, and then we've got the exposed inner workings of our Android 16 in there, very Terminator-esque kind of thing going on. So this is a full head with non-removable hair. So you've got that to fully swap out. So he's got 4 different expressions. He's got 2 legitimate sets of hands, and then you've got a set of non-hands when it comes to how you want to display this guy. So not a ton of stuff. I'd still, as always, I would love to get an energy effect, but I think he's got enough here to work with pretty easily and put him into some fun poses. So yeah, overall, really happy with this guy. Still really happy with this guy. Again, Android 16 has been a favorite of mine for a really long time. I think he is the best Android we've ever gotten. You know, we haven't gotten any new ones yet. They're coming, but I've always been a fan of this one, and I think it lends mostly to the fact that his design is so unique and just so different from a lot of the other characters. It's a very Saiyan kind of armor scheme, but it's also very much not. He has a very unique color scheme, and then of course this time around, he's got a different change of facial expressions in terms of detail. It's the same kind of expressions, but they're more detailed. Change of hair color, like the shading in that. And then, of course, if you want a more animation color scheme and it's not that super shiny armor, you've got this option to go with when it comes to that more matte finish, which I think does sort of change him up enough that if you've already got him, you won't be upset rebuying him. And if you don't already have him, you're going to be able to complete your Android family. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations event-exclusive Android 16. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.